let's make this a second feature and then let's cut it up into segments and then we'll upload that onto YouTube as part of our marketing strategy.
What is Beast Mode?
So Beast Mode is the behind the scenes documentary of Space Waves. It shows the making of Space Waves and all the ups and downs we experienced as we made this micro budget indie feature. And so you'll see how, 10 of us starting with $10,000, we went along and we did principal photography and we did post and pickups and all the different ups and downs, and how we ended at about $50,000 over this 5-year-long journey. So you're gonna see everything it takes to make a small independent movie.
When did you decide you were making a documentary? Yeah. Was it during making of the feature film?
So Beast Mode was one of those things where at first it started with myself and the first AC, Rebecca, thinking, hey, let's make just like a little 20-minute thing that shows some behind the scenes of making Space Waves. And then when Space Waves turned into this huge 5-year-long journey with all this crazy challenges and things we had to overcome, this documentary became bigger and bigger because the story was just so huge. And so when it came time to shoot the interviews to talk about the B-roll that we shot on set and everything, the interviews ended up going for hours because everyone's just telling all these crazy stories, of extras not showing up, getting kicked out of locations, and the Mustang breaking down and losing the radio tower, and just everything you can think of going wrong. So there was so much to talk about. So this documentary just turned into this big thing, and then the documentary's final runtime ended up being like an hour and 48 minutes, which is longer than Space Waves, the movie itself, which is pretty funny.
You barely had enough crew to shoot Space Waves.
Yeah.
How are you doing behind the scenes footage?
Just any chance we could, just in between. I'm always a person that's filming and taking photos on my phone. So I would shoot stuff, Rebecca would shoot stuff. I had my sister, when she wasn't doing production design, have a T3i camera or something, or a Canon 80D, whatever, shooting behind the scenes shots in between. And so we just kind of just got footage any way we could. I would say next movie, I would love to have a dedicated person on set to just capture behind the scenes video and photo. That's going to be really essential. But for Space Waves and Beast Mode, it was just kind of, we had these footage dumps where we would ask, hey, from this week, we want to grab everyone's iPhones and just grab all the photos and videos that you guys have taken. And so a lot of the cool videos or whatever came from just like, oh, the sound person shot something or the gaffer shot something on their phone, and it ended up being a great clip, even though they only shot a few things, or stuff like that.
How long did it take you to sift through all the footage for the behind the scenes?
It took a very long time. I mean, we worked on this documentary for years, so it was just, yeah, like I said, it's like an hour and 48 minutes. It's very big and very ambitious. I think it originally was like 2 hours and 20 minutes when we had like our first kind of rough cut. And so it's been such a huge project. And so to cut it down and to go through everything has taken a very long time.
Plus you're also weaving through a story.
Yes.
So it's its own form of storytelling.
And we had to figure out, one of the tricky things was figuring out what is the meta narrative, like the big narrative, and what are the narratives for each of these individual kind of segments of the story. And we tried to make sure, I don't know, it was kind of like the story kind of just came to us as we were editing the interviews and stuff, and we realized, okay, the kind of thesis and the message of Beast Mode is like young filmmakers doing whatever it takes, overcoming every challenge, every step of the way to make a feature film. And so that was kind of the theme that just kept coming up. And so we tried to structure the documentary around that. And we decided, okay, we're not going to shy away from the challenges. We're going to show the challenges. We're going to show people's disappointments and people's frustrations as they're making Space Waves, because it makes the film that much greater, because it shows how much we conquered, and it shows how much redemption and how much we all grew through the process.
How much extra did it cost to make Beast Mode?
It didn't cost that much extra. It was mostly just the hours that we had to put into making it, because it was myself and the first AC, Rebecca, just doing this project. And so there was a lot of times where things were slow because we were working on other things or whatever, and we had to come back to it. And the only things that the only real cost was paying for sound design to get the sound leveled out, because, you know, interviews, and then there's loud B-roll, and then there's all this stuff happening. So that was the one thing we paid for to make sure that it all sounded good. And then I did the color grade, and Becca did an initial like first sound pass and stuff. So we tried to just take care of it all ourselves. And then I think sound was the only thing we paid for.
Was it your strategy to make 2 movies for the price of 1?
Not at the beginning, yeah. Because at the beginning it was, oh, this will just be a small thing to accompany the film, just like a little behind the scenes 20-minute thing. But then, you know, as it went along, it just got bigger and bigger. And then it became the strategy, okay, let's make this a second feature, and then let's cut it up into segments, and then we'll upload that onto YouTube as part of our marketing strategy. So it was like, okay, movie's out, and now you're gonna see every week, you're gonna see behind the scenes about the making of this film. And so not only is it a really cool keepsake for us, for the sentimental types that we wanna relive the experience and see it and hear everyone telling the stories and stuff, but it's also a very strategic thing for our marketing campaign. And so it keeps it fresh in people's as they're scrolling, they're seeing more and more content about Space Waves and Beast Mode, and makes people appreciate the film that much more. And so, you know, I think all of us, when we see a film we like, we want to go learn about the making of it and get to know the people behind it who made the film. So it became an essential part of our process and our social media rollout and our marketing and everything.
When it's all said and done, how many episodes will there be?
15.
15, okay, great. When did you film all of the cast and crew interviews?
So we filmed those in fall 2018. So that was right after we shot the bulk of principal photography. We ended up having to do some interviews later in 2019 just because we ended up shooting more stuff like at the Space Tower and all this stuff. So we had to shoot a couple more interviews to talk about some of that stuff. But I would say if you are making a behind the scenes documentary, shoot the interviews as close to the action as possible while it's still fresh in everyone's minds. Because when we showed Beast Mode to people, everyone was like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot about that, or I didn't even remember I said that, or, so you want to make sure you shoot it while it's fresh in everybody's minds, and that'll get you the most accurate and the most passionate version of the story.
Have you thought about releasing Beast Mode as a full documentary?
Yeah, and that was the initial plan, was to release it just in full on YouTube, and then we pivoted and we're like, no, let's release it in parts over the course of the summer. And then we thought, okay, we'll just put out the full length right after that. But we had to do a lot of strategizing and figuring out the best way to release this thing. And Becca wanted to go to festivals with it. So we kind of came up with an agreement that like we're gonna release it episodically, but then the full documentary is gonna like hopefully go to some festivals, and it's in a feature form. And so hopefully it'll get into some festivals and do good things for Becca and me and the whole Space Waves film and the crew and everybody involved. So we'll see what happens with that, but that remains to be seen.